Anyway, when we get into the early 2000s, the racetrack, over the course of all these years I've been talking about, it changed hands a couple of times.
Yep.
Tom Dawson started it, obviously. Started the Snowball in 68. I think in the late 70s, Tom had enough, decided he wanted to be a charter fisherman.
Right.
So Bill Coy, Jerry Lawley leased the track, ran it a few years. The late 80s, I believe, maybe Tom was into the 80s. Anyway, where I think the direction of the track started changing was when the Spears family leased the track, when what I believe was 91 or 2. They built the wall around the track. That changed the dynamics of the sport here.
That was David Spears that had Sunset Marine.
So David and Wassel were brothers.
Okay.
Of course, Terry, who was married to Helen, was Wassel's son. Terry was the general manager. David was in it for about a year. I think he decided it really wasn't for him.
I got you.
So he wasn't in it too long. And they ran the track through the end of 97. They had brought NASCAR in. In fact, when I won the championship in 97, it was a NASCAR track.
Oh, wow.
It was a pretty cool deal. I mean, we went to Nashville and had a big banquet up there. Dr. Jerry Punch gave me an award. Was pretty neat. But I think they joined NASCAR as kind of their last hope. Racing was struggling, their attendance was down, and it was just more work to them than what it was reaping. Plus, I think they've at that point felt like they had originally intended on trying to become owners, and it wasn't going to happen.
I got you.
So anyway, they left after 91. So Don Grassman, who was the son of Roxanne Dawson, which was at that point Tom's ex-wife, came in and basically saved the Snowball. Don did. He was a photographer by trade. Actually was contracted at one point with NASCAR, and at one point he was Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s personal photographer.
Oh,
and he also, I believe, I'm telling this right, is responsible for probably introducing Cindy Elliott to her future husband, Bill. Because Cindy actually worked at the Northwest Florida Daily News, where Don worked before he moved to Charlotte. So anyway, I think that's how that introduction took place. And so Don had a business called Cameras in Action, and had a partner. They come in and ran the Snowball. The 98, the track sat dormant until the Snowball, I believe, and they came in and ran it that year. The next year, I think they run a few races, and then the Snowball, and maybe again in 99. And then they leased the track out to a guy named Wade McNaughton. And Wade was a super nice guy. Everybody liked him. He ran the track in 2000. I believe he took the track in I might be a year or so off on my timeline there, but I think Wade had the track in 01, 02, part of 03. And they uncovered some stuff, the owners did, the Dawsons, that they didn't particularly like the way Wade was doing, and kind of had a breach of contract of some sorts. I don't know too much about all that, except that I knew there was a court battle, and they ended up winning the case and got him ousted. So Don come in, once again, saved the Snowball, ran the Snowball in 03, and it was at that time, during that winter, that they came to us and said, look, we're going to have to close the racetrack. We need
they actually came to y'all?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And they said, would y'all be interested in taking over the track? Well, the first answer was heck no. That's not what we want to do. We want to race.
Right.
But
I didn't realize how close the Snowball came to going away.
It was very, very close.
Holy cow.
Very close. Again, I think the Spearses get credit for nurturing along. They're the ones that started reserve seating. Give a lot of credit to them. And then, of course, when they left, I mean, it probably would have went away had it not been for Don.
Wow.
He was kind of that's a big family, the Dawsons. There's a lot of siblings there, but Don was kind of the leader. So anyway, the more we thought about it, we thought, well, you know what? We don't want the racetrack to close. By the way, part of our livelihood is down there in them pits selling parts and tires.
Yes.
So we still had the parts business at this time and had a pretty decent parts business going at that time. By Advance Auto Parts had opened, and so our business was a little more challenging than it had been when we were the only game in town.
Right.
So we ultimately made a decision to lease the track. We leased it for 3 years. We had an option to purchase it at the end of 3 years, and we said, this is what we're going to do. I remember us having a meeting right here in Section A at a grandstands before the season started. Kind of introduced ourselves to the local racers and said what we were going to do. We started the Blizzard Series for super late models in 2004. And we went to every other week racing right out of the gate.
Right.
At that time, costs were escalating still, and we felt like the best thing for us to do was to try to save people money, was to maybe cut back on the schedule a little bit, maybe allow them to race the whole season instead of being broke in June, July, like we always were. Right. So anyway, that came to be. We had decided, again, I don't know how these decisions came about really, but, I was going to come over and kind of manage the track, and Randy stayed behind and managed the store.